What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about demons? Hell on earth, sacrifices, a giant plague. Pick your poison, because I never would have thought that I would watch a movie regarding Hebrew symbolism, mathematical equations, Greek letters, and a basement door that leads to hell, where those inhabiting that hell are pretty much damned forever to count numbers in tandem. Whatever the point may be, this is why I don't associate with math. Because one day, someone is going to solve an equation and open a door to hell. Yeah, you heard me. Greetings, my lavish horror movie lovers. It is I, your humble host, the Horror Hound. And in this episode, I will be talking about the movie The Cellar and what it means to me and possibly to you too as well. So here is the skinny of this very confusing film. Keira Woods' daughter mysteriously vanishes in the cellar of their new house. She soon discovers there is an ancient and powerful entity controlling their home that she will have to face or risk losing her family's souls forever. Did you get that? Okay. If not, I'll explain more. Here we go. Time me. I'm just kidding. Don't time me. So, in the subgenre of family horror, Brendan Maldoni's The Cellar aims to treat with a dark, moody, and somber film that emphasizes atmosphere over gore, making for a mostly family-friendly viewing experience that unfortunately feels all too familiar. Almost like the Amityville, but without the blood and gore. So, that's what it felt like to me after watching it. So I must admit that psychological horror has a fascinating assertion, which simply isn't accomplished well enough in this movie. There is a moment in the early moments of the film when Ellie heads down to the cellar. She's on the phone with her mother and she's counting the steps as she goes down. There are 10 steps, but she continues counting way beyond that. This image sends a chill down the spine. That's if you wanted to send a chill down your spine. If not, just deal with it. And that moment makes you sit up and pay close attention. Yet that proves to be the film's most, in fact, only notable sequence, and from there on just loses its way and fails to compel or involve the viewer in any way it promised. So I was kind of disappointed, because I wanted so bad for her to go 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, all the way down to 10. That would have been funny. I'm sorry. That would have just been epic. Okay, sorry, back to the movie. The story begins where so many classic horror movies do. A family moves into a huge historic house and creepiness immediately ensues. Mom, played by Alicia Cuthbert, and Dad, played by Ian Mackin, couldn't be happier with their antique new abode, finding endless charm in the worn-down floorboards all the way to the gigantic reading room. Their eldest daughter, Ellie, played by Abby Fitz, conversely thinks the house is an unparalleled eyesore, one that no amount of teen-appropriate room decor can even begin to alleviate. So, no Backstreet Boy band posters or, I don't know, some emo shit, whatever these kids are into these days. I don't know. However, her younger brother Stephen, played by Dylan Fitzmaurice Brady, approaches his new surroundings with predictable childlike curiosity, finding an old phonograph in the living room particularly intriguing. Yet, one room inspires abject dread as opposed to nostalgic mystique. The Cellar. Anyway, mere moments after stepping foot into their new home, Ellie cautiously peers into the basement. Not only to have the door shut behind her before the rest of the family can follow, she hysterically scratches at the doorknob, which has locked solidly in place. Even with the voices of her parents reassuring her from the other side of the door, she begins to feel a presence slowly creeping up towards her in the pitch black stairs. Cue the Jaws theme song. Doo-doo, doo-doo. So the key was hanging there the entire time, and they didn't look up? Don't! So, after the family realized the key hangs directly above the door, Ellie is quickly freed. Though she's clearly traumatized by the incident, her parents brush it off as a cruel trick of fastidious old luck. A few days later, however, Ellie calls her mom back at work to let her know that the house's power went dead. When instructed to go into the basement and check the circuit breaker, Ellie immediately tenses up and refuses. I think I would too. Her mother gets her to agree by promising to stay on the phone the entire time, guiding Ellie by having her count the 10 steps down the stairs in the darkness. 1 step, 2 steps, I just, god damn it. Why couldn't they put that in the movie? Seriously. So she gets well past 20 before her mother ditches the office and races home. When she gets there, however, there's no trace of Ellie. Bum, bum, bum! It seems Ellie disappears during a power outage, and when Keira discovers strange markings engraved on walls, other seemingly paranormal phenomena, she comes to believe that the house somehow took her daughter. At this point, her husband thinks that she is gone guano. I think she would gone guano too if I didn't have the evidence to back it up. So, but then like a math equation that Keira finds on a cornerstone whose Hebrew characters can be read out as Leviathan if you treat the equation like a word scramble. So, in the process, she discovers a mathematical equation that, once narrated, opens a gateway to hell in the cellar. Way to go, Keira. Thanks a lot. Just fuck it up for everyone else, why don't you? So it soon becomes clear that this is where Ellie has ended up, but as Keira tries to convince others of this, she realizes that she is alone in her conclusion. Her life goes from bad to worse when her husband and son become possessed, and an ancient demon takes residence within their home. Keira, once again, has got to push the plot along independently while her video game playing son Steven occupies the same space as somewhat supernaturals are happening. Mainly the beads on the nearby abacus creep from one side of the thing to the other, without anyone visibly guiding their movement. Yeah, that kind of freaked me out too when I saw that. I mean, the little things sliding across the abacus by themselves. Nope. That's my cue to get the fuck out of Dodge. Sorry. So, adapted from Maldoni's 2000 short film, The 10 Steps, watched here or anywhere, I don't know, on fucking Shudder. I don't know why I put that in there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. Anyway, the Cellar thankfully avoids the critique that afflicts so many features adapted from short films, mainly that they feel like shorts stretched to feature length by using the short as jumping off point for the story. It's essentially remade with the new cast in a scene that takes place 20 minutes into the film. The Cellar is able to do away with shorts content clearly and early on a focus on being able to stand on its own. The rest of the film follows Keira as she hunts for her daughter and unravels the mystery of the house and its previous owners. The main problem with this movie is that we've seen this all before, and we've seen it done better. Poltergeist, thank you very much. Anyway, The Cellar offers nothing new in the way of haunted house films, which makes it overly familiar viewing experience. You've got your secret markings in the titular cellar that only appear under a black light. Doors are always opening on their own. Lights flicker. Symbols are carved above the doors that will lead to an inevitable Google search. And an old phonograph plays the creepy ramblings of a madman, and ghostly whispers echo throughout the halls. Yeah, that reminds me about 100 different horror films regarding haunted houses. So, they're all sufficiently unsettling, but that is the crux of the problem with The Cellar. It's sufficient, but nothing more. The sole exception is more striking imagery that takes the bulk of the third act, showing the creativity of Maldoni is capable of with his astute eye for visuals. One wishes that he had spread those elements throughout the film rather than saving them for the last few scenes. Yeah, I can agree with that sentence. Why wait to the very last half an hour to expose all the good shit? What an asshole, right? Jesus. So The Cellar is, at its core, a fairly listless grab bag of haunted house tropes. From the chintzy setup of the Woods family acquiring a house, to the authorities, of course, refusing to believe Keira, an array of metronomic jump scares, trawls through social media a very creepy son, a meeting with a supposed paranormal expert, and most of all, a lot of Google searches. So, at the end of the day, this movie is pretty good. It's wonderful to see Alicia Cooper back in the genre, and Muldowney manages to eke out a few genuine chills in the third act. But it's not enough to merit a strong recommendation. It's completely made film, but in an age where people have endless viewing options, streaming services, competent just does not cut it anymore. So with that being said, I don't think this film is to be dismissed if you have Shudder. It's not awful. I mean, despite the wooden acting, the mathematical mumbo-jumbo, and the weak jump scares, there is some good in this film. The imagery is often striking and scary. There is a sense of looming dread, and that the ending is quite an effective one. It's clear that this film has potential, but if you don't have the patience to sit through a film that reminds you of better examples of the genre, you might miss out on the few positives that this production does have. If you decide to descend the staircase into the bowels of hell that this film represents, you might cringe a little bit at the badly delivered lines and needless exposition. You might close your eyes and go into a happy place every few minutes. The film reminds you of the math lessons you took in high school. Fuck you, math, just saying. Anyway, and you might be tempted to see what other horror films are on your streaming service when you get bored of what you see on the screen. And to be very honest with you guys and gals, I wouldn't blame you for doing any of those things. So, but if you give it a chance, you will discover the film has it's made pretty good, but with some few rough edges. Though, while this will never be a film that will give you nightmares, it's not a complete waste of your time. Just like both math classes you had to endure when you were young. Damn it. Oh my goodness. Simply put, The Cellar totally fails as an adaptation of Muldowney's original short, though the director successfully conjures the anxiety of the 10 steps, tense 10 minutes. Wow, say that 5 times fast. It does not remotely justify the film's feature-length narrative. Least of all when the narrative is horribly disjointed, at once involving a haunted house, leaving no room for any of these threads to productively unravel. Oh my goodness, I can go on and on with the negative shit in this movie, but Jesus. Your time won't be wasted. It's an okay film. There's far too much that doesn't mix together, but the muddying of the film's focus and causing the story to drag on, it drains viewers as a result. I mean, though it's based on a genuinely gripping project, The Cellar feels like nothing more than a cheap imitation of the filmmaker's previous achievement, in turning diminishing the impact of the original work. They say artists should learn to kill their babies. Wait, no. Why did I put that in there? But it's a tantamount importance not to meddle with the creations once they've been born. God. Oh, I can't believe I put that in there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You guys are totally awesome, as this is episode 50 uploaded on the South Jersey Horror. And if you don't know, I will remind you, May 14th, I will be in Pennsylvania at the Horror Sideshow Market, vending for the first time for South Jersey Horror, with lots of groovy door prizes, t-shirts, stickers, and DVDs, and some giveaways. So, if you happen to make it there, just Google Horror Sideshow Market for the address and the location of the event. And I look forward to seeing you there. And you guys are some sexy motherfuckers. And I will talk to you later. Or see you later for that matter. Whatever. This is the Horror Hound signing out. Take care.
You fire musket, but I'll run you through.